Right, Dawson, you're going to get a video response. You don't get used to it. But I was just thinking about, I just heard your last one, and I was just sort of thinking about how that came about, how you ended up making these videos, how it all started, what the watershed moment was when you just started. And there was just a gap, wasn't there? There was a gap, and at some level it comes down to boredom, doesn't it? You weren't being titillated by your ex-girlfriend, Ricardo. He was titillating you before, wasn't he? And now you're not getting it. So the natural place to look would be to me, because not only because of weird psychological expectations and weird stuff that happens in society and nothing to do with any of us, but like moulds that we fill, but because of the way I'd been treated the last few months, and that it seemed like the natural thing is just to tug at my coattails, I think. And so you've got that, but then I've been listening to what you're saying, and I do think you're kind of subconsciously following what happened with Ricardo. So with Ricardo, he got loads of attention, he got loads of subs, he got people talking about him, people talking to him. He was the one that you were kind of probably looking at like you're looking at me now, because you were probably infatuated by him, because he would have been providing you with quite a few services that you needed. And so like the 5 S's or whatever it is that Sam Vaknin talks about, or the 4 S's, I don't even remember anymore. And if you match a few of them, you don't have to match all of them, but if you match most of them, then that's it, you're in. And so, and that's like, from Sam Vaknin, so it's like a narcissist thing, but also like when you look at that stuff, it's a threat thing. It's like someone who's drowning and they need support, and so that's how they're looking at the world, as well as another way I look at it. Because the way that I look at this stuff is that what I've come to realise is that it really is just stored up stuff. It's just stored up threat. That's it, just stored up threat, because we are just complicated muscle tubes, aren't we? And we're designed to evolve, we're designed to survive. And a big part of that is being able to know where a threat's coming from and deal with it and remember this stuff. And conditioning, as you know yourself, body conditioning is such a big thing. And it just does it so easily and so quickly without you even knowing. And I think when you've been conditioned by threat, and the body sees threats in all different places, and if you haven't got a guide when you're younger and you see everything as a threat, then you're getting conditioned left, right and centre. So we all get conditioned, and we're like big sponges, and it really is that quick. And when it comes to threat and it comes to the physical form, it comes quick, and it takes a lot undoing it, a hell of a lot undoing it. The thing that got me thinking about it is I'd had a toothache, and I'd been to the dentist about it, and when it got sorted, it was just a filling that had fallen out ages ago, and it had just got bad. And they filled it, and I was like, for 2 days I was bracing for that pain, and it never came. And it slowly undid, but I could see it, because there was no pain. It gave me time to look at where the imagined stuff was and where the real stuff was, and how I could undo it, and how easy it was to think through that, because your body's just doing it. Your body's just on that shit, conditioned to fuck. It takes ages. I'm just getting out of it now, and I'm not just talking like hunching up and being like, oh, the pain. No, psychologically, how you go into your root ball, how you might not. For me, when I was bad with the toothache, it got to a point where I wasn't interacting as much with people, because you can't when you're in a lot of pain. You can instigate a conversation, you can chat for a while, but then you know that at some point this is going to just take you, and it's going to just be at best awkward for everybody. So you just don't, you're just more likely just to have a very, very shallow conversations. And I did see a parallel with all the stuff we've been looking at, and the narc stuff and everything, because at the end of the day it's just threats, isn't it? It's just threat. It's just the human response to threat, and it's just the I would say the most difficult stuff is the physical shit. And so I really do think that the train your body and the mind will follow. aspect of things. Discipline that fucking threat out of you. That is what I've come to. And now I'm preaching what I don't fucking practice, because I haven't done any discipline in my body for a while now. I do walk places though. I do make sure I do walk places and stuff like that. So I suppose there is a repetition to that and a positive feedback. But yeah, I do think I'm going to start with my exercises again. Not that I don't feel like I've got that much to flush out, actually. I feel like I've done quite a bit of work, thanks to my monsters in my pocket teachers that I've had the last few months. And because that's another part of it, isn't it, of working it out. It's not just on the physical, obviously, but a lot of it comes, and that's the thing, isn't it? Where does it, is it chicken and egg? Does it come from the physical? Where does the physical influence the mental, and where does the mental influence the physical? That's an interesting one. And I don't even know if that question is what I really mean, but I just can't be arsed to even sit and think about the right way of expressing that. So hopefully you get the gist of what I'm saying there. Why did I go on about that stuff? Yeah, it's just, I see that maybe through this conditioning and through these repetitions, and maybe not having so much creativity going on because, you're in pain or you're drowning in your own way. And I see that in a lot of people. It's not just even in this community. I've seen this somewhere else. And it's like there's this need, you can repeat stuff, not you personally, but when people are drowning or when people are in this bad place, what I would have said in the past, narcissist tendencies in some places. But when people are in a bad place, they want to interact with the world and they've been shown how to do it, but they kind of how to do it. They've seen, my phone broke out, but they've seen how to act in the world, but the pain has possibly stopped them from really connecting. And so that is shown sometimes in the creativity. So they're very good at emulating, and maybe that's why they're very good at the facsimile, but not necessarily the ideas generating. And that is why they have to jump on people who do ideas generate, and they have to either destroy because they don't understand it and they feel threatened by it, or they feed off it, or both, as I've experienced. And you also get that with people who just do not get the AI thing. They can't use it, they feel threatened by it, they don't get it. And that's because the AI thing, it's not about how good your pencil is, it's not about how good your fucking tablet is, it's not about how much you've spent on your fucking gear, and it's not about even how many hours you've even spent on conditioning your skills as an artist drawing, even to like replicate something technically. Although I see a massive value in that skill. And that could be another one that, could be used for disciplining the threat out. And that's where I suppose art therapy comes in, doesn't it? But like the repetition of that, it doesn't, it's the ideas that you need. Because the computer can do all of that shit. It's the ideas that you need. And the people who struggle, maybe they're more on that spectrum, who had more of a pain than a creation balance growing up. Anyway, the reason why I refer it to this is because it seems very like you're filling a mould here. Do you know what I mean? You think you're going on this exploration of your own stuff, and it probably is to you, this like really unique individual thing, but it really is just the same old stuff. It's another guy doing that shit. You are just following Ricardo's play of just making a video about me every day, or however many videos every day, to try and attach yourself to, what is, I am just a random person on the internet with like a couple of videos up. And that is about it, who had an online fling with someone. And, the lack of creativity and the lack of ideas, because I suppose of the medium of where we found ourselves and each other, and that includes Ricardo, who's another example of this. It's encouraging that narcissism, isn't it? It's encouraging anyone who's already like that. It's encouraging that. And so they're the ones who'd be using the AI to completely emulate someone else's style completely. And I've got, again, there's a lot of validity to using those things, and again, augmenting other people's ideas with your own ideas. But I'm talking about people who will just use it to copy and copy and copy. And you don't see a difference, because like I say, it's a spectrum, isn't it? So that's my thinking on that. But the reason why it flagged up for me was because you're just doing it not only with me, but you've got me and Evie mixed up, haven't you? You can see it in your conversations. You like start talking to her, then you talk to me, then you mix it up with her, you mix it up with loads of people. I get that, and I know you're aware of it. But because of that mix, and because of the role that you lot, including especially Ricardo and Evil, have tried to, and Tommy of course, have tried to put me in, it gives me like a little bit of an anchor as to what you kind of want out of that entity that you're creating there. And you just, sadly, because I think the pain, the lack of any vision, and that's nothing against you, because you have got an artistic vision, it's just that you're probably restricted physically from even connecting with that very much, and you're stopping at this very short-sighted level of, at the moment you're trying to like attack Eve every day. And I mean, if for some reason I thought that this was in some way anything to do with me, which it isn't, and I never thought that, but even though you tag me in everything, it's clear that it's not. But I mean, why would you think that somebody, potentially like your impression of me, who'd been attacked by their ex, who'd had their past threatened, who was constantly in chats talking about bad-mouthing this person, making lies up about me to people who'd never even met me, and completely rewriting stuff, banning me so I had no voice at all. And anyway, this is turning into, I don't mean that, but this is what you're doing. You're trying to do this again to your ex. It's like, oh, I want a piece of that action, I'm going to do it to my ex now. I mean, why you'd think that would impress me in any way? I know that it's not me you're directing it to, but like your interpretation of me, even just knowing how you fucking got to know me is by those guys are just doing exactly what you're doing now. So don't think I don't see this complete cycle that you're going through now. It's like you've reached for Ricardo, he's not bothered, and now you're just emulating Ricardo and using your ex to do it. And I mean, I never did anything to fucking deserve what happened to me, and she never fucking did anything to deserve what you're doing to her or attempting to. But nobody fucking cares apart from the dark fairies. Because the last time you had Evil and all his fucking cultist bullshit, and Tommy and his fucking cultist bullshit, which was galvanising it, and a load of other shit as well. This time you're just off on your own doing it, and it really shows the people. There's the people who are trying to fucking, who are, maybe, I think with Buttocks, he did actually give a shit a little bit about you, I think. But it's just people feeding on you. And when it comes to fucking shudders and people like that, I think that's Bob Newbin. Just by the fact that there's always that one person in the fucking chat or in the comments with these like weird little messages. And normally it's Bob Newbin. And he's got such a fucking problem with me. And he will just like be nicey. Honestly, so like creeping about the place, waiting for the tiniest little thing. And then as soon as he gets the tiniest, what he sees as an in, he is straight in attacking me. I mean, he was the one, he still got that fucking Bob thing of my face, which was quite funny, as his avatar. But that's fine, it's just he went straight in and did it. And it just says a lot about a person. It does. So that is a really dark fucking fairy, and I've always said that. So watch yourself with him. So I see you all, I see what you're fucking doing. And I think you should just, like I said to Ricardo with me that time, just fucking get something else to do. Rather than like, fair enough, I appreciate like going through your own shit and trying to deal with your past breakup and stuff like that. But like going, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, don't think it's not all coming out, Evie. I mean, she probably don't give a shit. But like, it's not good for you, mate. Being like that, like sitting there smirking, going, oh, I'm gonna be the one with the last laugh. Like, where's that gonna get you? Really? Honestly. And if you're looking death in the face, right, let's be right, and that's what's doing you in a bit, then just think Mind the Gap, right? All those writings that have come down through all those books and all those people. Yeah, well, there's wars and there's all sorts of agendas and there's all sorts of control and things that have happened and things that have been wrapped up with it. But there was a fundamental reason why people passed that shit down in the stone temples and all the rest of it. And they're telling you to mind the gap. when you get onto that next bit. Because, you know, like in dreams, if you're in control of your dreams, it's very different than when you're not in control of your dreams, isn't it? And if that side of things, we don't know, do we? But, you know, if that side of things has that connection and it's a bit like the dream state, then you need to be conditioning yourself a little bit. You don't want to be just flabby brained on a loop, constantly thinking about the past. Because you know what? That's how you fucking end up as a grey lady walking up and down corridors for fucking however many eternities. So think on about shit like that. I'm not talking about not living in the now and thinking about, oh, the great heaven or any of that shit, but just think on. All right. So I'd recorded that video, and then I saw that Sam Vaknin had put the video up, and I watched it, and it goes along with it at some level, some of the stuff that I was saying. I don't know, it just like, it seems to give me things to think about on that anyway. And what it did make me think as well is maybe I was being very glib by saying just discipline it out of you, because there's so much to it, isn't there? And there's so many causes for the same outcome, and everyone's different, and everyone's at a different stage of it, and everyone's got a different environment. So, I mean, for just one exploration of the variations that you can have. So I've just wanted to make a acknowledgement that, like, I mean, you look at your gym rats, a lot of them, and you look at people who, like, you know, really do discipline it out of them, and you see that it doesn't always work, does it? Because, like, look at that guy who made himself look like a fucking tiger or whatever it was by, like, I mean, that's a level of discipline at some level, isn't it? To, like, completely cover your body in every single part of it with a tattoo, a themed fucking thing, you know, that he had all those things put in his face. I don't even know what happened to him. Is he still alive? But I remember him from Eurotrash, I think it was. He had all those things put inside of his face so he could have whiskers attached, and I remember that guy, and he had his face done, and he looked like a fucking tiger or a lion or something. And, you know, that's that, I suppose, isn't it? That body modification gone so far. And obviously, I would say that it's definitely got narcissism thrown into it, or whatever, playing out of something, and it didn't help him, did it? And then you look at your tattooed bros who are like so obsessed with the gym and obsessed, and you see them, you know they're going to be a narc. One of those guys, I'm not talking about everybody who's like looks after themselves, or everybody who goes to the gym, or everyone who prides themselves on, you know, sculpting themselves and stuff. I'm not, again, this is, I suppose, my point is that the whole of this stuff that we do is very black and white and throwing the baby out of the bathwater, and I'm trying not to do that while still being in an environment where that's how we communicate. I suppose that's the problem. See, whatever you're hearing scrubbing about, that's my cat attacking my kitchen rug. There she goes again, you see. So I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, you know those guys are going to be off. The ones who are covered in tats that are, not always. I mean, I'm being a generalising bastard now anyway. But, like, in general, in my experience, and it works for birds as well, like, if they're covered in tats, most of the times there's some narc going on there, isn't there? And I mean, I don't know who I saw a thing of where they were like, this is an example of the female narcissist. I know it's all very cheesy internet stuff, but they were always, you know, there's a cat trying to attack the other cat. I might have to stop doing this. You, bugger off. The pair of you, go away. Go on. It's raining outside. Go on. Bugger off. Anyway, so that was my point. I suppose being disciplined does not negate narcissism. I realised how stupid that was as a concept, because that's what they do. And I suppose it's similar to when people are controlling their eating, aren't they, in different ways. And it's like playing out that control over your life. I don't know. But I do think that because life isn't so black and white, for some people at some point of their life, when they're suffering from some elements of this threat-based behaviour, that maybe when you've been working on yourself a little bit and you kind of maybe where I feel like I'm at the moment and I'm just projecting on you. But I was trying to come up with something positive that you might be able to put your energy into that would iron out this threat to you a bit. And obviously there's loads of different parts of it. It's like being in that nurturing environment, having feedback that's good, and feeling like you can trust the people you're around and stuff. But I was going to suggest, Ocean, that we did like, maybe we could do like an art thing. Do you know what I mean? Like my Discord is public, so you could come on, we could do art, we could do like, I'm happy to do like an art competition, we could do pictures to communicate every so often, you know what I mean, whenever. I'm quite happy to do a little doodle every now and again, and we just take a photo of it and we can just do that. And then maybe we could have art challenges is a potential thing, do you know what I mean? I was just trying to come up with something that would engage the mind and the body and hone those skills, so your bored, lazy, idle body, you know, is, I'm not judging you for that, by the way, but it's because we're all in that place, because we don't have to, you know, fight for every meal that we eat, you know, and all that. Luckily, touch wood, up to now. Because of that, obviously it's turning on itself and doing this threat-based conditioning, potentially. That's just my pontification. So anyway, that was my my extra bit on it. I was kind of disjointed because I'm being attacked by fucking cats. And the last bit is a bit of clarification, just to be on the safe side. And not just you, but a lot of other people intentionally and otherwise misreading things. I want to make it perfectly clear that in general, I like to think that if someone asks me for help, that I'll try and help them. And if they don't, and I think part of life, especially some sections of my life when I was like maybe a bit younger, I had to really teach myself not to get involved with people when they didn't ask for help, you know, because you think you know best and shit like that. And I was taught many times through life that I was wrong, you know, and that people need to make their own fucking decisions and go their own path. And anyway, but when people do ask, not to like fucking slam the door in their face, but I also want to make it very clear that just because I'm not slamming the door in your face, Dorshin, and I'm not just going fuck off and being like a prick, doesn't mean that you can read anything into that. Doesn't mean it's going to be like, oh, you'll say there's a chance, right? There's no chance. Just making that clear now. I'm your friend. I've been hanging around with loads of people around here for a long time, and I know that the cultist bastards trying to gaslight people, going, hey, real life dog, and all that shit, and it's all changing and sands moving across and it all being weird and never really having a clear picture. At the end of the day, you a lot of people who I've spent a lot of time with, I have got a lot of time for a lot of you, and that is it, you know, and you're never going to get it any more than that, okay? That really is, I just want to be as clear as possible, but I also don't want to shut myself down to helping out a friend who could do with just a bit of distraction, maybe. So my public Discord is open and you're welcome to come and put in with that, and I'll interact and we can do stuff in there in the public, okay? But I don't do private.